everyone. Heidi here from Rain Country. Thanks for coming in. God is good all the time. And I'm here today to talk about my top 10 essential oils. So, what I'm going to do, and how I use them. And the purpose of this is to give, especially people who are just kind of thinking about dabbling in, are essential oils worth it? I mean, I've heard some negative stuff and you're kind of thinking about doing it. Where are you going to start? So I'm going to start by listing the five that I think people should start with, and then I'm going to list another five from there. So I figure it's good to start five, and then you can add the other five later. And then if there's more you want to add, you can do that later. Before I get into this, I personally do not diffuse essential oils, and I won't. This is an opinion. Take it for what it is. I don't think it's the best idea to be breathing in essential oils that are being carried in on water droplets. Now, rubbing it under your nose or even diffusing it in the form of like Stacy would do and putting the essential oils in like a little thing of water and then putting some skewers down there, and the skewers soak up the water and essential oil and then kind of release the scent into the air that way, I think is a little safer. You're not, again, personal opinion on that. So, but that's not really how I use it. I really don't use essential oils for aromatherapy much at all. Now, when I first started using them for pain, until I could get my, like my feverfew and all that to where I could actually harvest it and start using it, I was using it for my frequent headaches I was getting, like every week. It was like this every Tuesday I'd get a headache. I'm not kidding, every Tuesday. And so I had my own personal blend of lavender and rosemary oil, a 50-50 blend. Now, I will recommend that most people should probably use a carrier oil. I did not, and I just rub a tiny amount under my nose, and that just so I could smell that. And I, when I teach and dance, if I started to get a headache, I'd just rub that in there, and it was gone within seconds. It really, really worked. So let's start with the top five that I think everybody should have. In my personal opinion, again, this is opinion. You can switch it up according to what you maybe listening to somebody else. They might have different ideas or finding out what's best for you. But peppermint is one of those that's at the very top of my list because it has so many uses. And then second is lavender, some kind of citrus oil. Now, I have them all. Well, I shouldn't say all. I have all the basics. So I have orange, grapefruit, lemon, and lime. And I love having all four of those. But probably the one I use the most is orange. And the second most would be the grapefruit. I'll talk about that in a minute. But at least one of your citrus oils, whichever one you think you like best. Well, I use lemon quite a bit too. So lime's probably the one I use the least, even though I absolutely adore the smell of it. It just smells amazing. So that was number three, one of your basic citrus oils. Number four is eucalyptus, and number five is clove. So let me talk about the reasons for these first five. So peppermint, it's just great for all kinds of stuff. It goes in my muscle rub. I have added it to a certain precious metal suspended in water and mix that together, and it works really good. I've been kind of dealing off and on. It comes and goes with the rash that I get on my arm. My arms are doing a lot better today, but when I spray that on there, that the peppermint it feels nice. It really kind of soothes it and then helps to heal it along with that precious metal. But then it's also good for adding to tooth powders, toothpaste. If you're making your own, obviously peppermint is a good one. Of course, there's many others like wintergreen and spearmint and whatever your favorite is. But peppermint is also, even though I don't personally use it this way, it's also really good for helping with headaches. So just like I was talking about with the lavender and the rosemary, the peppermint is really good for the headaches. Lavender is excellent also for pain, specifically for headaches. And as aromatherapy, some people will rub these things on their temples too. I like to put it here, but some people will rub a little on their temples and find that to be really helpful with headaches. And I think even migraines. I'm not one who suffered with migraines, but headaches were used to be almost a daily occurrence, but especially at least once a week, I'd get a bad one. Now they're rather rare. So, which was the funny thing is once I stopped taking the ibuprofen and which, see, I think I'd switch it up, acetaminophen, ibuprofen. When I stopped taking those and started relying on more natural things, it was amazing that it wasn't long before I just pretty much stopped having headaches for the most part. And then when I would, it'd be like, "Oh, that's weird. I have a headache. That's haven't had one of those in a long time." Lavender is also excellent for helping to soothe burns. Again, though I've used it straight on burns and it worked really, really well. Some people have to be very careful because they can have very sensitive skin and be very sensitive to essential oils they're quite powerful. So you may want to put it in a carrier oil if you're using it for such things. Lavender is one of those I use in one of the skin creams that I make and sell. I'm going to go ahead and share this. I've had two different people. Both of them had either a grandchild or a child themselves that had uh, really suffering with eczema, and everything they did, nothing was helping. Not over the counter stuff, not prescription stuff, nothing was helping. And I don't make any claims about my skin cream, none, other than I just use it as a daily moisturizer for my face. And sometimes I put a little in my hair and on my lips and on my hands. So it's just for dry skin. And so this one lady, she emails me and says, "Well, my daughter has eczema." I was like, "I cannot say it's going to help because that's not what I make it for. But I would recommend if you do want to try it, I recommend the lavender." It wasn't, she got that lavender skin cream and she started putting it on her daughter who was only 3 or 4. And she sent me pictures later. It didn't take long. It just healed it right up. I couldn't believe it because that's not what I made it for. And I was just like, and she was showing me pictures of her little girl holding this tin of lavender skin cream that I had made and with a big old smile on her face because she was so happy to have this eczema cleared up. And then another was a local lady. She went ahead and got the unscented just to be certain because she didn't want any essential oils in there. And that's, sometimes it's essential oils aren't for everyone. So she got the unscented for her grandson. Same thing. I was blown away. And so she came back and got a whole bunch more. And I said, I do have a recipe if you want to make it yourself. You might save a little money that way. So, and it was really exciting. But again, I'm just sharing testimonies people have shared with me, but I'm not making those claims. I'm not going to tell someone this is what my skin cream can do for you. No, I'm not going to do that because that's not what I made it for. But I do think the lavender essential oil is really good for that. For any of your like skin issues like that. Citrus is just I like it because it smells great. You can add it to, well, I even have currently, a lot of times I like to brush my teeth with just coconut oil and sometimes I'll add essential oil to it. Well, usually I do. Usually it's peppermint, but I wanted to change things up. So I put lemon in there and I'm loving it. You could put orange. So citrus is another good one for using to add to your toothpaste, tooth powder, coconut oil, whatever it is you're using to brush your teeth with. And of course, any of these can be great for adding to soaps. And I have, if you're making homemade soaps, I use my own essential oils in them. Or I say my own. I haven't made any of these. I don't have the equipment for making essential oils from my herbs. Might be something I'll think about getting at some point. I mentioned the eucalyptus. That is one that goes, I use it in both my muscle and joint rub as well as the vapor rub, the homemade vapor rub. I have video recipes on these. And you can use eucalyptus alone to help, another one of those things you can rub it under your nose and it can help clear out your sinus passages. So if you're plugged up, a little eucalyptus oil under there to help clear the head. And then clove, well, I love the smell of clove. And it is a good numbing oil. So some people will use it like if they have any kind of toothache or something in their mouth, you can rub a little on there, totally numb it. Same thing with anything else. And it's also one that gets used in my joint and muscle rub. So I put quite a few different essential oils in my joint and muscle rub and absolutely love it. The citrus oils and the peppermint oil or any of your mints can be used for flavoring things as long as you're careful not to use too much. I know some people say you should never ingest essential oils. And yes, you should be careful. It's not the brand name that makes it ingestible, like some people try to claim. It's the type. And even then, you need to be careful. I mean, peppermint is a virtually a safe um, herb for most people. But if you get too much, even drinking too much peppermint tea, like if that's all you're drinking, it can kind of disturb the gut flora a little bit. So you got to sort of spread that stuff out. So, and I have noticed this, like if I've made my peppermint patty chocolates and maybe we've been eating on that, and then I've been drinking a lot of peppermint tea, I can tell when my stomach is just like, this is a little too much peppermint. You need to back off. Okay, okay. So, I'll make some other kinds of teas. Your mints and your citrus oils are going to be your safer bets if you want to use them for flavoring, but you just need a little bit. So I use the orange also in my orange cream chocolate when I make that. Sometimes I'll use a little bit when I'm making like an orange icing. Not always, but sometimes I'll put that in there. You can also, if you want to do the safer bet, you can just do like I always put the orange peels and then use orange juice concentrate instead of the oil. I like using the oil because you just need a tiny bit and mix it in there. And I especially like using the oil for the chocolates because the chocolate's all like a fat and you can't like put a juice in there or an extract and expect it to stay blended. This is why the essential oils are good for flavoring for that because they're going to mix in and because they're an oil, they're going to stay blended into the chocolate. Okay, so let me get on to the next 5. So if you have these 5 oils and you're feeling pretty good about those, then the next 5 I highly recommend would be rosemary. And I remember how I was talking about I mix the rosemary and lavender oil as, for a headache. And the reason, though you can use the lavender by itself or even the peppermint, the reason I mix the rosemary in there is a lot of times when I get headaches, the headache would make me feel kind of cloudy headed, how that is. And rosemary really can help clear the brain. It will help kind of wake it up. It helps with memory. So I like mixing the two together. I find it very helpful. But rosemary oil I use for a lot of other things as well. It is one that I add to my hair growth oil that I make along with the lavender for the same reason. They're pretty closely related and so they have very similar benefits. And then tea tree, which is like with a lot of these, it's an excellent antifungal. So some people find it very helpful for, curing up toenail funguses, athlete's foot and whatnot. But clove is also a good one for that. Let's see. And so is thyme, which is another of my next 5. Thyme is also one that I use in the Vapo Rub. Frankincense, one is it can help with sleep. So that can be one you can rub under your nose or put on maybe a little bit on your pillow or something. And that can really relax you and help you to sleep better along with the lavender. Frankincense gets added to my very favorite skin cream blend along with grapefruit, ylang ylang, which I didn't put in my next 5 because if I had to live without it, I would, but I really definitely frankincense is going to be the more important one to me there. And yeah, so those 3 are the main ones that go on that skin cream. And then oregano. Oregano is also great for a natural antifungal as well as many other things. But just like with the peppermint, and oregano is also a mint, some people like to take oregano internally to help with, maybe help with parasites, candida or whatever. But again, too much of a good thing isn't a good thing. And it will mess up your gut flora. The oregano will. So if you do too much of that, I don't recommend it. Now, after that, I would say if you wanted to then build even more after that, then look at adding the ylang ylang. It is a nice smell. And whatever other citrus oils you didn't choose, add those then. And camphor is another one I highly recommend. And it is also another that goes into the vapor rub that I make. So the camphor, the thyme, what I say, uh, eucalyptus, and maybe I use the camphor also in the muscle rub. I'm gonna have to go back and look at my recipe again. I half time I don't remember. Now, a few other things that I didn't mention yet would be that you can use some of these in, like lavender, for instance, is really good for using in a homemade diaper cream. And yes, I believe I did a video on that as well. Oh, the only other thing I didn't mention was like for a perfume replacement. So that's what I've been doing for a long time. Yeah, patchouli is another really good one with cedar. I like to mix those two together for a more masculine smell. So when I make Patrick's deodorant, I add those two to his deodorant. I love mixing clove and orange together as a perfume. So, but you could do the same thing with like lavender or the rose or geranium or rose and geranium mixed together, or if you like the more floral smells. I'm not a big floral smell kind of person usually. But vanilla essential oil is another great one, especially for something like that, or even mix. I love to mix vanilla with some of these other things. Like if you mix it with a floral, it kind of smooths out that powerful perfumey smell of a floral scent. And to me, it just makes it smell better if you're going to use it as as a perfume replacement. And that goes for anything else. Like if you're making your own homemade hairspray, which, yes, I have a video on that too. You can add your essential oils to that as well to add a nice scent to your hairspray. What do you think about the shelf life of EOs? I guess it's a good question because I've never actually looked into it, but my personal feeling is that they're not going to go bad. I don't even see how they could go bad. I mean, not only they're an oil, well, not that oils can't go bad, but because of what they are, and they're so powerful. And you think about most of that stuff, oregano's not going to spoil, thyme's not going to spoil, peppermint's not going to spoil. So I really, I think it's indefinite. But that's my personal opinion. Don't trust that alone. I suggest going and looking it up. So anyway, those were the ones that I recommend. And like I said, I have a bunch more. I don't just have those. I have like pine and which just smells amazing. I don't know. I have I have a lot that I've collected over the years, but I still have my favorites that I'm going to turn to for quite a number of things. Certain multi-level marketing places that really want to push their stuff. So I'm going to say first that I don't shop MLM ever. I'll never do it again. I tried a certain MLM brand that I will not name, but one of the two major ones was not one bit impressed. I've been using Now Foods since I first started buying essential oils back in the early O's, I think it was, somewhere in there. And I started buying them in order to make my own muscle rubs and whatnot. That was the main reason I started stocking up on those. Now Foods was what I could find back then, and I've been very happy with them all this time. I have tried other brands. I found some that I like just as much, but they're more money, but I would definitely trust them more than the MLMs. And Azure Standard sells some. I do not remember all the names. I meant to bring them in here, but I do have a video I did about 8 or 9 months ago about essential oils and my thoughts on them, and where I talked more about the brand names and whatnot. But I showed some of the different brands that I've tried. I always go back to Now because they have the best price and they're great quality. So they always have been. I've found them to be just as effective, if not more so, as any other brand. But with that being said, I want to come back to the ingesting of them. So certain essential oil brands that overcharge for their products, and they have to do that because they got to pay all the many middlemen. That's why those are expensive, not because they're higher quality. they really pushed the ingesting. I don't know if they still do that, but for a while they were like encouraging people to make their own capsules out of them, and then people were taking these things like supplements and getting sicker and sicker and sicker. You start having all these health problems. You've been ingesting these essential oils. You need to stop. The reason you're having these reactions is not because it is because your body's trying to detox. It's trying to detox from all the excess essential oil that you're ingesting. And that goes for anything. So whenever I still get people that say this, you'll hear this a lot from vegans who, and no offense if there's any vegans watching me, but I've seen this a lot where somebody was a vegan for a while and they started having all of these health issues. Their skin started getting bad and they started breaking out and they started losing all their hair and their teeth were getting loose. And I've listened to, I don't know how many testimonies of people who went vegan for a time, and almost every single one, they had the same problems. And every time they would be in this group of people, it was saying, "Oh, just stick with it, or you're not doing it right. You got to do better." But you're just having, it's just your body detoxing. If your teeth are getting loose, that's not your body detoxing. That means there's something wrong. That means there's something missing in your diet. And if you're getting rashes, you're getting nausea, you have diarrhea, uh, a lot of this kind of stuff, it means you're getting too much of something and your body is trying to detox from what you're taking. So what you'll do is you'll get people to say, "Well, you need to just keep doing it so you can get through the detox phase." No, it means you need to stop doing it because your body's trying to eliminate it. And one of the ways your body will eliminate toxins is to push it out through the skin. And that's where a lot of your rashes come from. Oh, I know I was gonna say, I know a lot of people have mentioned one I have not tried, which is plant therapy. I haven't tried that one, but I've heard good things about plant therapy. It's a little more expensive than now foods, but not expensive as your multi-level marketing brands are. And I know there's many more out there that are good ones. But yeah, I've been meaning to do a video like this for a while. I did one years ago, but I thought it was a good time to update it. I don't know. I didn't go back and watch it, so I don't know if my top 10 list is any different than it was back then. But oh well. Hey, it's time to go ahead and just say it again. So thank you all for dropping in. Goodbye, all, and God bless.